am Karin Hurt, and I'm here with our next edition of Asking for a Friend Live. And this is a question that I am asked to speak on almost every month. Someone is calling and saying, hey, can you talk to us about work-life integration? How have you managed your career and done this? And I always laugh because I'm like, I don't know that I have this handle. This has been a challenge for me throughout my entire career. And I've even had people say to me, I don't know how you do it. And I think, is that subtext for, I wouldn't do that if I were you? How do you travel so much and do this big job? So here's the thing. There is no easy answer to this. And so I wanted to invite several women who I know have been working at this and succeeding at this very well for a long time. I've had conversations with them about, they're all coming from different perspectives. And so I wanted to have a dialogue about how do you approach work-life integration? So first, I'd like to invite Monica Hammond. I remember talking with Monica. So Monica and I worked together at Verizon Wireless for years. And I remember very distinctly sitting with her at some event we were having, and we were having a cocktail, and we were just talking about, wow, it's just not easy, and sharing our approaches. And so when I had this topic, I'm like, oh, Monica, we have to have you come. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
And then Tabana and I have been working together on and off in a variety of capacities for a while. So it was interesting. Tabana at one point she was my client, right? So, but vice versa. So we worked together when I was leading the outsourcing contact centers channel, which we call the strategic partnership channel at Verizon. And she led a variety of call centers and was doing amazing culture work to get people to have high performance, high engagement teams. I've always been impressed with the work that she's been doing. And now I'm working with her on some of the courageous cultures and doing some work with her team. So that is really, really fun as well. And I know that Leslie Eubanks will be joining us in a moment. So looking forward to that as well. But as we get started, I'd love to hear just tell us a little bit about your roles. And I say, there's Leslie. So terrific. We're having some technical difficulties. We're glad that you're here. And so let me just quickly introduce Leslie. Leslie has been part of a very large leadership development program that we've been doing at Kforce. And she is also, and she'll tell you about her roles, but she's also a mom. And I've been watching this year over the last 7 months as we've been working, and she always shows up with so much energy. And I'm like, your lipstick always looks better than mine. And, how are you doing this with a little boy at home? So I thought she would be another perfect person to talk with. So thank you so much for joining the show today. So Monica, let's start with you. Just tell us a little bit about your roles, both professionally and in other areas of your life.
All right. Well, I'll start with personally. So I'm a mom of 21-year-old twins. I am a wife. I am a daughter. I am a sister. I am definitely a friend. I am a girl's girls. I love all of my good girlfriends. I'm a mentor. I'm a lot of things. So that's who I am personally. Professionally, I work at Verizon. I'm the vice president over our business government customer operations. And really what that is that I lead the end-to-end customer experience for all things wireless for a Verizon business group. So that's what I do professionally.
Oh, thank you so much, Monica. And Tabana, why don't you share just a little bit about your roles?
Hey, so good morning. Excited to be here. So I'll start with the personal as well. I would say I'm a daughter and a sister and, caregiver for my parents. And I love being able to give back to communities. I'm big in finding ways to be able to give back and help, whether it's with time, coaching, development, or, monetary help. But that's my passion. From work perspective, I've been in call center industry for about 23 years. Currently, I'm working as a senior vice president for client services for Ibex.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tabana. I'm looking forward to our conversation. And Leslie, a little bit about you.
Good morning. Can you hear me all right?
You sound great.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for the patience with the technical issues, just part of this COVID pandemic life we're living now. So I'm Leslie, and yes, I'm a single mom of a 5-year-old boy named Grayson, and also just a friend, a partner, everything these other women described. And from a professional perspective, I am one of our leaders at Kforce. I'm responsible for our enterprise portfolio within our consumer technology vertical here in the Pacific Northwest. And as a passion project, I'm also a Bar 3 instructor. So that's another great way to connect with folks and find some balance in life and body, mind, and spirit.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to pause here and invite anyone who is listening. I have some questions prepared, but I really would love this to be a conversation. So if you have a question for any of our guests today, anything that's on your mind, or if you have a friend's question, please chat it in and we'll be sure to answer it. So I want to start with what grounds you? Especially during this year that has been so challenging, and you have so much going on from a professional perspective and a personal perspective that was changing so fast and on a fast pivot like everyone else. Where do you find your grounding strength? So, Tabana, let's start with you.
Sure. So for me, two things that keep me grounded, it's my faith and my family, right? So it's important for me to be there for my family. So I actually looked at this. Yes, it's been a hard year for a lot of people, and it's been hard in different ways for everyone. But I also look at it as a blessing in disguise. I want to always look at things in a positive way and figure out how do you make the best of any situation. And for me, this has been truly a blessing in disguise, as I was home more and I was able to be there for my parents and be at home to be able to do things with them that previously, because of travel, I was not able to do. Right. So family absolutely is a huge aspect of my life. My brother and my sister-in-law and their kids. So I think everything that I do revolves around my family, and then having that strong faith. I think my faith keeps me grounded, that no matter what happens, there's always something better for me. So if a door shuts, there's always something better that's going to come along. So keeping that strong faith and always, thinking about the positive side of things is what's kept me grounded. I have people who ask me, well, why don't you stress about things? And why don't we ever see you stressing? And I think that's one of the things, regardless of what the situation is, and not just work, but even personal. When things and challenges occur, I always think of, okay, what's at the end of this, right? How do I make the best of it, and how do I keep moving forward?
I think I was asked you that question before. Why aren't you more stressed? Because I knew what you were dealing with, but you do seem to maintain a very even keel. Okay, great. So how about you, Leslie? What keeps you grounded particularly during this year?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. Absolutely, our connections with friends and family. I think a few skills that I've really worked on over this last year in order to keep perspective are vulnerability and just being honest with people about challenges that we're facing or stress that we're facing, and seeking acceptance and being really accepting of others, kind of recognizing that most of us are doing the best we can from a day-to-day perspective. And then just my breath. I have found a lot of patience and ability to cope and navigate situations just by pausing and taking a moment to just take some deep breaths really intentionally, and even just go outside and plant my feet in the earth and just take a moment of kind of grace for myself and definitely grace for others. And I think that's really enabled me to just keep moving positively. And I agree that I think there's a lot of gifts that we've realized over the last year, that have given us a lot of improved perspective.
Great. Thank you so much, Leslie. I see some questions are starting to come in, so that'll be great as well. I want to continue now and ask you, Monica, what keeps you grounded?
Yes, so thank you. So definitely my faith, having a spiritual connection, that's like hugely important to me. That has kept me grounded. My family, particularly my daughter, who makes sure that I stay grounded. But one thing that I learned over this pandemic that really helps me stay grounded was one, my tribe of girlfriends. I mean, there's nothing like that type of love and support. And my work family, we were all going through this together. So they've invited me into their homes, being at home. I have a great group of leaders, and they have really helped me stay grounded. It's just been such teamwork. And so during this pandemic, I realized that we are really just a family, right? We're just at work. So I would say that those 4 things are the things that have really helped me stay grounded during this time.
Nice. Thank you. So we're getting a question from Courtney. Let's see. Curious to know how you practice self-care differently in our changing world. Would anyone like to speak to that?
Yeah, so I think, I would say this being at home, actually, it's given me more time to think about, right, what's important. And, being healthy myself is important to me being able to actually even take care of anyone else. And interestingly enough, in my office right now, I actually, because I do get to do a lot from home, I'm constantly in my office. In the corner of my office, I actually have some exercise equipment. I have a compact elliptical, I have an air walker. So when I'm on calls where, I don't need to look at my computer screens and I could just be doing it from my phone, I actually, at times I'm working out while I'm actually on my calls, and I just build that in during my workout, because there are times when it's a long day and I may not be able to go walk outside during the day. So trying to build some of those kind of routines and self, trying to also make sure that I'm myself, taking care of myself, eating healthy, while I'm doing the same for my parents as well. So I think I've been able to do more just because I'm home. And how do I incorporate some of these different activities to take care of myself within my work day has been the key for me.
Very nice. Thank you. And Monica, I know you had something to share as well.
Well, I was going to say, I've had to, Tabana, I'm really excited for you. I've had to redefine self-care. Self-care to me prior to the pandemic was facials, massages, and all of that good stuff. Now it's like, okay, I need the bare minimum. So, exercising has become self-care, taking long walks with my husband, not something that I had a lot of time to do prior to the pandemic. So it's just those small things that I think that have become self-care for me, time with my friends, intimate moments with my children. That's really, in my mind, become self-care versus pre-pandemic. Self-care to me was definitely getting pampered. That was my idea of self-care. So I've changed my perspective on it.
Yeah. So Amber, I'm going to come back to your question because I think it's a great one. I want to first make sure we talk about sacrifices and decisions, because I have had a fascinating conversation with each one of you around this, where they say, you can't really have it all. Right? And so, or not all at the same time. And so I know, for me, there have been major points in my career where I've had to make sacrifices or make decisions, and they don't always go in the one direction. Sometimes I'm making a sacrifice that my family is sacrificing. Sometimes I'm making a sacrifice and my career is sacrificing. And how do you determine what is the right move? So I know you all 3 of you have a nice story around this. Monica, I'm going to throw this one to you first.
Yeah. So, one of the things I learned definitely is that when you get married and have kids, it's no longer your decision. It's a family decision. And I believe that you can have it all. It's just, to me, not always at the same time. I've been fortunate, obviously, to, have, that family support, but I've had to give up opportunities. I know, Karin, I've shared with you before, is that I had been offered opportunities, and they were things that would have advanced my career, but it would not have advanced my family. And it was just not conducive to the type of family life that was desired at the time. So, I think that you have to, as an individual, decide what's most important to you. Now, the beautiful thing is that I was able to get other opportunities, but I think that when you think about these roles and as you continue to move up, you will have to sacrifice. Now, to what extent, that's all personal. But for me, it was important that whatever I do, that I have the support of my family and that it makes sense for everybody. But I've definitely given up things. That you give up time, you miss events. You just have to know. But one of the things that I could just share with people that I heard 21 years later, nonetheless, but I heard it. I did an event with my daughter, and someone asked her the same question in terms of, did she feel that she missed out on anything having a mother who had a career? And her answer will warm the hearts of everybody listening and looking at this was, no, not at all. One, that having a working mother taught her that she could have it all, that she could work and have a career. Two, that I always picked up the phone, right? So it wasn't, regardless of where I am, I always picked up the phone. So she felt that presence. So I think there's little things that you can do to make sure that your family and your children and your parents or wherever you are feeling important, but it will definitely be a sacrifice, but it's been well worth it, anything that I've sacrificed.
Thanks, Monica. Leslie, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, again, like we're talking about, I think that, we have made those choices from a day-to-day perspective. And I think, being a working mom, being a parent, constantly reminds me that, family does come first, and also finding that space to make sure that, my team at work professionally knows that as well. So I think that's how I've tried to just find the work-life integration that we're talking about today, is not to focus too much on what I'm giving up, but what is the priority and what is most important at that time, and finding acceptance in that and making that choice, and trying not to sit too much in guilt and disappointment of what I might be sacrificing, and having those really honest conversations with the people that it may be impacting. I absolutely have to put my son first. And it's interesting, as we age and we grow personally and professionally, then I've learned to look back on decisions that I've made and realize, I really felt like I was sacrificing something at that time, but then see how things continue to play out and trust that things do happen for a reason, trust my gut, trust my intuition, and know that ultimately maybe even something better is around the corner, for my son, for myself, for my team, or my community and family.
Nice. Thank you so much. Tabana, one of the things that I have always found and really admired in you is you have moved your parents with you as you've relocated. And I don't know anybody else in my life that I has done that like you have. But that's a tricky situation. And I know you shared with me how you made some of those choices. So I'd love to hear your perspective on this question.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, the things that keep me grounded, my family obviously comes first. And yes, so my parents, like I said, I'm a caregiver for them. So they live with me. And it was important for me to know that whatever job I took, it was going to be a good place for them. So if I was going to move somewhere other than just a job fit for me, and knowing, yes, it's a good career progression, what was it going to do to my family? If I'm at work, what will they have, right? So for me, it was not just about it, because for me, it didn't matter which city I moved to, but it mattered for them, right? For my father to have, he's an avid bridge player. So for him to have that opportunity there, right? For my mother to have what she wants to do, for them to have their inner circle. So yes, I've given up opportunities because they were good positions and good companies, but the area just would not have worked for my parents. Right? And so I did not take that opportunity. But again, I think going back to the things that keep me grounded, family obviously comes first. And I have a strong belief that things happen for a reason. And, there's always something better in the future you can work towards. So I've never felt for any position that I've given up that, oh my God, how does that impact my career? It's always been the choice that I'm making now is going to work out for the best for me and my family. And so yes, and I'm very lucky to have parents who are that supporting, that they have moved with me to multiple states with me taking jobs. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Amber's question. Jared, if you could put up Amber's question. She was asking about connecting. How are you dealing with not being face-to-face with your employees and not being able to travel to see your employees? love to hear your perspective on that, because all of you did. So, Monica, let's start with you on that one.
Yeah, so I am missing it tremendously. I mean, I really feed off of people and their energy, but we are making it work. We have gotten very creative around our video access on some of the things we're doing in terms of our town halls, our webcasts. We're actually learning things. I think regardless of where we end up, I think we'll take bits and pieces of what we learned, but I think it's about staying engaged, making sure that we keep the employees at the forefront, but also their family. Many of my employees are being teachers, caregivers. It's interesting on these calls, you see their kids come up. I've gotten to know kids, their pets, and who they are. And being invited into their homes have really given me a different perspective on people that I wouldn't otherwise see, right? That because I only see them. So there's been some benefits of not physically being in the office with them, but seeing everyone in their environment. But I absolutely miss that face-to-face connection, that ability to connect with employees and see them. So, but it's been good. Overall, it's been good. But I don't miss the travel. I don't miss being on the plane. Personally, I don't miss being on the plane, but I miss the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I could add,
okay.
Sorry, I was going to say, if I could add to it, for me, we call it our Ibex family, and my team, and all the people I work with, and even my ELT, we are one big, I'd say, happy family, right? And so we've figured out, yes, I miss seeing them, right? I miss having that human physical connection, right? Being able to even hug somebody there, but we have started doing so many virtual town halls, virtual happy hours, virtual meetings with them. And so we get to do different activities together. We have our team activities. One of our important initiatives for Women of Ibex, actually, we launched it last year during this pandemic, right? And being able to bring women from all different geos of our company and come together and be able to put events together, do our own celebration has been a huge part. So one thing that I think pandemic has taught all of us is we can absolutely have connections and make it work. Even when we are not physically there, you just have to be creative and find ways. But at the same time, I think that human element is absolutely important. And so I can't wait for this to be over and to go visit my teams and be able to celebrate in person. But I think it's important to find out ways to keep that connection, to still be a part of your work family life, right? And so being able to celebrate their, kids' births or birthdays or their celebration of life and those kind of events, it's a huge part of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And another thing I'll just add, Karin, is that, as much as we certainly all do miss our physical experiences with our teams, I have to say, in a lot of ways, I've seen relationships across my teams really deepen, to the point, the other women made, having that intimacy with our teams to be able to see and be a part of their lives. I've seen people really kind of rise to the occasion and step up in ways I hadn't realized we were capable of previously. So I find myself being absolutely the one. I was on a plane every other week. I mean, I wanted to be out there with my people, with our clients. But I find myself reflecting a lot more around what is going to make sense long term so that people can continue to realize the benefits of this type of lifestyle and have that. So the whole virtual, exactly what we're doing today, we wouldn't have even been able to do something like this today. So I've really seen a lot of strengthened performance and connection and more passion in people professionally through this process.
Thank you all so much. Yeah, it has been fascinating to me to watch, and because we work with so many different companies, and watching how many people are saying, we didn't think this would be as positive, and there's been all these benefits of this. And I think the cross-regional, international collaboration for so many of the companies has been really a huge benefit on this. I'd love to ask you, as we begin to wrap up, what is your biggest lessons learned? Or if you look back and you say, gosh, I just wish I had known that part earlier. What advice would you have for your younger self?
For me, I'll start and I will say absolutely networking and go actively seek a mentor. So as I look back to my career in BPO industry, right? And BPO is an industry where you don't necessarily have the same work experience, right? Nobody goes to be a customer service rep, grows up with that dream, right? But starting out, I was one of those who's introvert. I focused on my job, I focused on my work, and I focused on letting my work speak for itself and being able to move up. I was very lucky to have a mentor, and Karin, you and know him, John King, right, who helped me throughout my career because he saw the work ethic and he recognized, I guess, the potential. And so I got lucky because I had somebody who helped me and reached out to me. But as I look back, I would absolutely say network and actively seek a mentor, because that's something that I did not do, and I still didn't do that well until a few years ago, right? So that's definitely important, especially in this day and age.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think John needs you as much as you need him. I'm just saying, but okay. Leslie, how about you?
What I would say to my younger self, I think this is a really timely question in consideration of it being Women's History Month and all that is going on in our country, from a diversity and inclusion perspective. Something that I wish I would have done more of is just speak up. I found myself in many professional settings where there were a lot of more experienced, more senior folks, and especially men. And I would question, whether what I had to say was worthy, or would I say the right thing, or what would people think? And I just really empower all of us to just really speak up and not worry so much about what people are going to think, but bring forward that confidence and passion because all of our voices really matter.
Oh, beautiful. And you know how important speaking up is, since that's what our whole book is about.
Absolutely.
So, I agree. It's so important. And I think sometimes as women, we second guess, and by the time we get up the courage to say something, the conversation has moved on. And so how do you step into that and own your strengths and bring your confidence to the table? Because your voice really does matter. It really does matter. So thank you so much. And Monica, how about you?
I would say I have two. The first one is professionally, I would say, and we were meeting with Tammy Irwin yesterday. She spoke to my team, and one of the things she talked about was embracing fear head on. And I think about if I was telling my younger self, I would really embrace fear and not allow my fear to dictate my career choices. I think when I look back, I think I limited myself in certain areas because I was too afraid to go across, right? I.e. sales, right? Everybody kept telling me I was a salesperson. I'm like, no, I'm not. So, I tell my younger self that, you want to embrace fear. And then personally, what I would tell my younger self is just to be in the moment. I was always the type of person who's like, what's next? What's next, right? And these moments go by quick. So just be in the moment and enjoy them each and every moment. So that's what I tell my younger self, which is what I'm telling my daughter, which I feel like it's a do-over of my younger self, although she doesn't listen. But nonetheless, that is what I would tell my younger self.
I love it. I love it. And part of why I wanted to have this conversation with all of you is to show how many different ways there are to do this. There's no one way. And, when I think about my advice to my younger self, I wish I had stopped worrying so much about other people's opinions, whether I was doing this right. How can you travel so much? How can you do? You know what? You've got to do what's right for you, your family, to build a life that's integrated and feels satisfying and fulfilling. And so thank you all for joining me today, sharing your journeys, sharing a bit of your advice. It has been a fantastic conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.